doctrine whereby your children don't belong to you, but belong to the state is called parens patriae. And I didn't have time to double check the meaning of that, but I've always understood it to be that the parent is patri, is father, right? Patriarchy, paternal, those are words denoting father figure. The state as your father figure, the fatherland we remember from the Third Reich. The state owned the souls of the people, owned their bodies, owned their production, owned their time and their wealth, and of course their futures belonged to it and its myriad decisions made on their behalf to invade left, to invade right, and so on. And that policy runs in Georgia as well, and you can see it today, I think, and you can see it for sure tomorrow when there will be a funeral at Wilson Funeral Home in Fort Oglethorpe for a woman named Rachel Renee Mattoon Hernandez. She died on the 1st of October. And her husband, her widowed husband, Jesus Hernandez, will be, of course, at the funeral, and so will the children. But there's something about parens patriae on this, on these rites tomorrow afternoon at 2 in Fort O, at that chapel, and that is that there will be 2 children there, but they will not be free. They will belong to the state. They will be in the state's custody, the dad says, speaking of Carlos, 16, and Liliana, age 12, who were seized a few days ago by the government, right? The government of Georgia through DFCS, which is to say it's Child Trafficking Department, Division of Family and Children Services. Now, that is an agency which oversees some legitimate social functions, but as agencies like that across the country have grown into behemoths. These are seizure behemoths and child trafficking behemoths funded by the Mondale Act and other federal statutes and programs. They have a mandate for seizing children, and they have a quota to fill. They would, of course, deny that there's a quota, but there is one. There are many fields, many groups, many hangers-on, many cronies of such organizations that need to have their lifeblood continuing to flow, financial lifeblood, through their bank accounts and through their businesses. And that is to say, feeding off of the main product of the state family and child seizure industry, that being children. These are children under Child Protective Services in Georgia. And so the 2 children will be at the funeral, no doubt tomorrow. The father kept as a supervisee as well. Not sure of the details here. Now, I tried to get a hold of the dad today, again this morning early, having had conversations with him last night. And my offer was, as it is to people when I hear about them in distress, is let me tell the story. Let me go with you and find out with you and maybe for you what is happening to you, how it is that you have come to this impasse. Jesus Hernandez, who is one of the best people you could meet. Now, I have that not as a statement that I make, because when I met this man a couple days ago, I found him a little hard to read. He was a little mystifying and not readable, even though, as I learned from his sister-in-law, he was a man in mourning and a man in grief with the death of his wife, his ex-wife, I should say, Rachel. She had filed for divorce 7 years ago in 2011, and yet on the day that she died, they were a cohabiting couple overseeing their children, Carlos and Liliana. And I met her sister, Rachel's sister, Sarah, also. And Jesus, which is the Spanish way of saying Jesus, his name is Jesus Hernandez. What we wouldn't say that, I guess, not to claim the same syllables for a man that one would give to the Lord Jesus, but Jesus is his name. He's a little hard to read, and so the things that would be said about him in his favor can't come from me because I don't know him. I mean, I don't. He's kind of mysterious and kind of quiet, and some of you may have heard him yesterday on the David Toulis show. And I am David Toulis, and I do thank you for tuning into the program here. We're here on the show every day at 1 o'clock. My offer is to help. Okay, that is what I try to do, is to help. Let me go with you. He said, well, no, I can't, because I have an attorney who says I should do nothing until Friday next when there's a hearing. Don't do anything. And I said, and my argument to him was, well, let me go with you today, now, this morning, to the DFACS office in Catoosa County, which is in Fort Oglethorpe, and let's ask for the authority for the seizure of these children. What is the statute under which they were seized? We're under what line in the Georgia Code, which is the Domestic Relations Statute in Title 19, what line authorizes the kidnapping of these children, right? The trafficking of children of a man who's committed no crime, of a woman who has committed no crime. The biological father, the legal father, the father against whom a claim could be made for support, right? That is to say, a legal father, a man who has a civil duty, a public duty, I would say a Christian duty also, to support his children, maintain the house, and be a loving man, providing moral guidance, ethical guidance, food and drink and shelter to his children. So there he's going to be at the funeral tomorrow, and the children under police custody. Okay, that is a strange picture, and you have to ask yourself, why is this possibly happening? And well, the question is only going to be partly answered by the next point, the next detail about this man. And do call me. The number is 800-8949, 800-8949. And that is, the next point I almost forgot to tell you is from Michael Cox. Michael Cox is the operations manager for a very well-regarded and big company here in the Chattanooga area. All around Chattanooga, you've seen the AFS signs, billboard, the big trucks that go about showing how that AFS will fix a bulge or a bow in your sidewalk, your driveway, the leaking belly inward, or the concave, the convex wall form in your basement where the ground is pressing against the brickwork and leaking in. That's what AFS does. And one of the leading crew member, in fact, a foreman on one of the crews which has a team maybe of 3 or 4 men, is Jesus Hernandez, has been at AFS for 7 or 8 years. And Michael Cox, the operations manager, says he is one of the best individuals I know by way of character. And he said that this morning twice when I got a hold of him. One of the best individuals I know by way of character. Reliable, steady, solid, hardworking, a man from Mexico. He is a man from Mexico. He is a guest in our country, a guest. Now, biblically, you would say he's an alien and a stranger. And one should always be careful about riding over, offending, trampling upon, stealing from, defrauding, injuring a person who is a guest in your country, a neighbor who is an alien and a stranger. And apparently there is something about Jesus Hernandez that it causes offense. Well, he has papers out of order. He doesn't have the right color card. A man who is not a criminal, an innocent and hardworking family man who has always looked out for his children. And when he came yesterday to my show, I was surprised he showed up. In fact, we'd made arrangements for him to come on the program, and I was almost certain he wouldn't come. But he came, and even though that he faces arrest potentially if he's here not with proper papers, if he's here, as they say, illegally. Well, is he not in danger making that known? Is that not something frightening? And yet, because he loves his children and wants his children back in his house, especially here with the death of Rachel Hernandez, age 34, she died. The daughter called, finding her mother dead. The daughter called. There were a bunch of police cars in the yard. He told me, or maybe this was her sister told me. And so there's some kind of autopsy being done on why the mother died. So I don't know the details there. We just have to find out what they are. But apparently, it's not it's not a murder. It's nothing like that. It's just she perished as a young woman, age 34, and leaving behind her husband Jesus and Carlos Manuel Hernandez, the son, and Liliana Cristina Hernandez, siblings. And the right now, just a couple hours ago, there began the wake down there, and I don't have word from the family about whether the children are there under state supervision or what exactly. But here's a man, because he is illegal. Here's, I guess, the short form for rationale would be, because he's illegal, he cannot have custody of these children. How can that possibly be true? Where is that in the statute? So my offer was, look, Carl, Jesus, let's go now. Let's go today and do this today. And I realize now why he didn't call me this morning. He just got too much on his mind. He's got a family. He's got, he's not going to worry about me, the reporter, pressing to get the story and pressing to make Facebook Live interviews down there in front of the child trafficking organization. That may have been a good idea when he talked with me last night, because maybe I'm persuasive about things like that. But I understand now why it didn't happen, because at 11 this morning, the wake began. So, who's David Toulis, and what can David Toulis do when I'm in tears, I'm upset, I'm angry, and I'm helpless, and I've got family in town. So clearly he was not in a position to do that, and it was really wasn't very. You say maybe it wasn't very gracious of me to propose that. It was too militant and not, maybe not thinking of the human side of this story. But there is a story, and it is that we have an organization which can swoop in, and I want to know where in Title 19 in domestic relations, where is the authority to not to steal someone's children from him? Where is the authority for that? And that's the question. If you can't cite the authority, then what you're doing is the local director, whose name I couldn't immediately find out, or your subdirector, or your field manager. If there's not a statutory authority, then the people who have done this to these children, the Hernandez children, are acting in their personal capacity under color of law. It's under color of law, the pretense of law, the sham of law, the imaginary schema of law, but not actual law. There has to be a law that allows this to be done. There is no, as far as I understand it, allegation of any kind of abuse or neglect. And those are the main reasons that children are taken from their family. For example, there's a detailed definition of child abuse: physical injury or death inflicted upon a child by a parent or caretaker, other than by accidental means, neglect or exploitation of a child or caretaker thereof, endangering a child, sexual abuse of a child, sexual exploitation of a child. And there are detailed discussions in the statute describing what constitutes a sexual abuse. And if that's 10A all the way down through J, and in detail it's given. And none of these are alleged. None of these are alleged against either Rachel Hernandez, now deceased, or her husband, her widowed husband, Jesus Hernandez. It's not alleged. So how is it that, because he may have a question mark hovering over his federal paperwork, how is it that the state stole a man's children and are going to have this man's children under police escort or under official escort at the funeral tomorrow afternoon? This is David Toulis. What's on your mind?
David Toulis, Mike Steele, live at the air show at Rome, Georgia. It's Media Day today, David.
Yes, great.
All the media is here, and the public can be here tomorrow and Sunday. It's going to be a beautiful weekend to come out and see this air show. America's best machinery in the world. The YF-22 Raptor, it flew today side by side with the A-10 Warthog. These are two aircraft that won many, many wars. Air superiority and basically ground superiority with the 22 and A10. Let me tell you, they're doing maneuvers right now. They're doing aerobatics. This year, David, at Wings Over North Shore, this is the Russell B. Airport, regional airport in Rome, Georgia. Only about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Chattanooga. They're going to be doing the Tora show tomorrow with real zeros representing the actual representation, and they're going to actually fly information as they did during World War II. That was the Japanese, of course, attacking America, but we know how that ended. So it doesn't matter. We'll let them have their fun and fly for Tora tomorrow and Sunday at the air show here at the regional airport in Rome, Georgia. You're broadcasting live, Mike Steele live in Rome, Georgia. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Please come on out. David Toulish, you too. We want to see your face in the place. There they go. There they go. Look at that. Whoa.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it very much. Talking with Mike Steele. He is at Wings Over North Georgia Air Show. And that's all day tomorrow, all day Sunday. And I wish it were Wings Over North Shore, but it's Wings Over North Georgia Air Show at Rome at Russell Regional Airport. Now, if you go down there, make sure that you know where you're going. I've been in North Georgia and lost my GPS contact through my telecom provider. So I just wandered the backcountry roads until I found a place I recognized. The Warthog, the A-10 Warthog is there, the bunker busting, tank destroying weapon. I don't know if the 30 millimeter Gatling gun or Vulcan is functional. It may be an old model that's been sold off or scrapped or rescued from the scrapyard, but it does fly. And there's also, as he's mentioning, the Raptor demo team, the F-22, and military helicopters and all kinds of other amazing and maybe somewhat slightly bizarre aircraft at the air show. That's tomorrow and Sunday. You can get tickets. You can print them out at wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. That's wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And this is David Toulish. Glad you're tuning into the program. And we're asking questions about, we have government in the sense of defending the country. Okay. That is what we all would agree. I would agree more or less that there needs to be a national military, and the strength of it and its equipment are celebrated at these events. And there's a lot of patriotic sentiment at air shows, and a lot of military presence. And somehow when we are having in view military people and warbirds and war pilots and Air Force colonels and the like, we think, well, yeah, somehow all of our defenses come down, and we're all American. I'm not. I mean, I've learned, I think, to not join in all the fun as I think of local economy, the free market, and how it is that under the veneer of defending the country, we have imperial ambitions and are very good at wrecking other countries and slaughtering people who are non-combatants. So I'm not celebratory as far as perhaps I should be. Okay, but I admit that as one of my faults here, David Toulish. We argue on my show that near is better than far, and that small is better than big, and simple than complex, which forecloses warfare. Okay, it is a very pacific and voluntarist view I have. It's agrarian, technological, and industrial. It's not just agrarian. But all the parts where human genius shines and human innovation sows its seed and reaps its reward. Personal is better than corporate, I'd like to think, and also physical is better than abstract. We're brought to you by Nuganomics.com, and also Router Pros, the aggressive plumbers in Cohutta. Roy Giles will come up from underneath your house where he's been in the mud, and his eyes will beam at you. He'll say, "I think I'm almost done," as he rips his bandana off his head and then ducks back down inside. Very aggressive Router Pros in all North Georgia and places well beyond as well. Nuganomics.com, the platform for the man who matters. I'm going to have a story out there today. I'm trying to figure out which one should I do. My cockroach story and how my cockroach success using diatomaceous earth, a non-poisonous and very inexpensive natural remedy for a problem that I think I've licked it. When I set off my diatomaceous earth bomb at 2 points under my house earlier this week, the next day it stopped. So, and there's more. I've got it. That's the cockroach story. The other one is about chatting police officers who get tickets. Get tickets in their cruisers. They are given speeding tickets. And I'll tell you how it is that happens. David Tour, Nooga Radio. I've got some wonderful and important messages and sponsors of my show. Just hang on, listen to who these people are.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
More road construction coming to the city. TDOT says contractors will be working on surface repairs for I-24 east near US 27. Work will start 9 p.m. Friday night, will finish by 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon. One lane of traffic will remain open at times, but the lane may change as construction continues. 2 men on the TBI's top 10 most wanted list arrested after a prison break. Dwayne Halfacre and Jonathan Baxter both allegedly attacked a prison guard and escaped from their holding facility. They were on the run for just a day. Dwayne Halfacre, no stranger to the fugitive life. He was the subject of an almost week-long manhunt following an armed robbery in Rutherford County. And a young boy from Chattanooga diagnosed with a rare illness that's seen an increase in diagnosis across the country. It's called AFM, or acute flaccid myelitis. The condition is described as a very rapid onset of muscle weakness. The cause remains unknown. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Get 8.1% return on your money. Rick Davis can turn your cash into real money. Gold and silver bullion. American Eagle Gold. The banks give you a measly 1.9%. At Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, you'll get 8.1% return on your money. 8.1% return on your money. Wow! Whether you're buying an ounce or 100 ounces, Rick guarantees it in writing. 8.1% Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
Let's face it, Old Faithful isn't as faithful as it used to be. Constant repairs are a hassle and can rack up quick in money and time. Landers McClarty Ford can fix that. Right now, you can get a 2016 Ford Focus, 34,000 miles, only $11,491. A 2017 Chevy Spark with only 17,000 miles for less than $12,000. A 2015 Volkswagen Jetta with less than 21,000 miles for $11,991. Yeah, browse their entire inventory of new and new-to-you cars, trucks, and SUVs online at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. If you can't find your next perfect ride, they'll go find it for you. Big city selection, small town prices, friendly service, and top dollar for your trade. The savings are waiting and only a short drive away, so what are you waiting for? Get started with your personalized shopping today at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com.
Join Nooga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships, as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
I'm Bo Watson, and I approve this ad.
Hi, I'm Nicole Watson. You may know my husband, Bo Watson. And beginning October 17th, you and I can go to the polls and begin early voting in Tennessee. When you vote, I ask that you elect the one person that believes in a better Tennessee. Bo has a plan of making jobs, education, and safety a priority for all of us. I ask for your vote to re-elect Bo Watson for State Senate.
Paid for by friends of Bo Watson, Boy W. Watson III, Treasurer, votefortennessee.com.
Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need Amco Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. Amco Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet way. Yeah, I just put that in.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nooga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between. Saturday mornings, 10 to 12, right here on Nooga Radio.
Nooga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect lots of sunshine and beautiful weather out there for your afternoon. High settling into the upper 60s. Tonight, high clouds will push in, still dry and cool, lows near 50. For Saturday, becoming mostly sunny, upper 60s. More clouds, may see a sprinkle, but not bad Sunday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's, it's always good. And I'm Soar Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Moore.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
Well, the story about Chattanooga Police Department officers is if they are on the road in their cruisers, their four-door Crown Vics or other maybe later model sedans, and they are speeding and they're caught either by another officer, by radar, or no comma, or by a speed camera, they are going to get a ticket. And the young woman who told us last night about the real-time Intelligence Center, RTIC, as it's called in the popular jargon of officers, RTIC, said that she at one point got a ticket for speeding. She said that she had been going to a disorder call where the men involved were talking loudly. Someone courageously called police for that, and en route, no blows had been exchanged yet, or no blows had been exchanged, but she somehow thought, well, she better try to head off that prospect, and pressed her foot on the accelerator a little bit too surlily or aggressively, and was seen and recorded as having been going too fast, and so she got a ticket. One fellow officer, Rachel Kreider, said got 3 tickets in one day, and she said that was about $150 that she surmised, or someone in the room surmised, will be about a day's pay. And so the authorization to speed is allowed only by approval. You have to be told that it's code 5 or code 6 or whatever it is to allow you to violate Title 55. Title 55 is the transportation statute, and in that body of law, which is many, I don't know, 300 or 400 pages, you have the rules of the road, which say that if there's a sign that says, let's say 40 on it, that means you cannot travel faster than 40 miles an hour, and so she had violated that rule without there being a necessity allowing it. So there are 2 points here. Number one is necessity. The officer can break the speed rules if it's necessary, and the necessity is determined by the commander or the immediate supervisor that says, okay, this is code X, and you have to get there lights on in a rush, and if you can do it safely, you can speed. Okay, again, the consideration is always public safety, and not spreading risk to innocent non-police, non-state actors, private people on the road, and others, right? Whether it's trucks or cars, you don't want to endanger anybody when you're speeding to get to a police call. So the rule of necessity is granted. And just by the way, you have that defense too. If you have to violate the speed laws to get a pregnant wife to the birthing clinic, well, you have a defense, right? The defense is it was necessary to speed, and that's it. There's no crime, okay? There's no crime because of the doctrine and the defense of necessity. It's always a defense, and make sure that you understand that. It's not often discussed, but you had to do it. So the officer, in the same way, has to get to an address where a call has been sent, has been identified as a place where some crime is happening or some evil is going down or there's an injured person. Necessity requires violating the rule that says you have to travel 40 mph on this boulevard. Okay, so again, but that in the case of Rachel Kreider or her colleague who got the 3 tickets, it has to be from above. There has to be an order for it. Since you don't know what's happening out there, you're in your car. You have to get the information, the intel from the radio that says here's the duty, and get there very quickly. And so that obviates or makes null. Let's just say it makes null the traffic law. There's no offense in the traffic statute under Title 55. The second point, and one that with which she agreed with me, is that the police department's fleet is a commercial enterprise. Okay, it's a commercial enterprise bound by Title 55. And I said, well, it's you're bound by the rules of the road, right? Because you're under Title 55, and that's because your business as police cruiser staff people is primarily on the road, which means you are a commercial operation. And I made that point, and I don't know that she really understood what I was saying, but clearly, if she's talking about violating traffic rules, she's talking about Title 55, which is commercial. The point unsaid in that interview last night, this little chit chat I had with her as a citizen learning about the police department, was that, well, that statute doesn't apply to people like you if you're not involved in commercial activity. And that is, of course, my report to city government and to others as well here in Chattanooga. Red Bank has gotten that report. Arnold Stoltz pretends that he didn't get it, the city attorney, but he did get it legally. He's legally been served with this notice about the statute and the limits of its enforcement authority. So those are two interesting things. Now, you want to know what else we heard about yesterday, and you should. It was a lively, one of the more interesting evenings. The first half was about victim services, and the presentation, I'd say, was could have been strongly improved because somehow the non-sworn person who handles that job thought that somehow we want to hear all about grant funding and all that, and somehow that was not that didn't really get to the heart of the purpose of victim services, which is I'd say a diaconal. It really is a service that belongs in the Christian church, where Christian people or Christian ministries look out for people who are victims. It really shouldn't be funded by taxpayers and city employees, right? It should be a private mercy on these people. So we heard about that, but then the interesting thing was the presentation of the Real-Time Intelligence Center, and my evaluation of it is this: it's not anywhere near and doesn't pose the danger that the Chinese social score surveillance system poses to the billion or the 2 billion people in that country whose surveillance is exhaustive and it is pornographic. There's a kind of pornographic surveillance of people there. And not only do the cameras identify you by looking at facial recognition, using facial recognition software, they evaluate where you go, with whom you meet, how long you stay in a certain place. If you spend too much time in a porn theater or too much time eating fast food, then your score goes down, right? Or if you're spending too much time on the job, maybe your score goes down because you're not taking care of your children. You get rated based on some algorithm that's put in, input somewhere by people who matter, right? The good people in Beijing determine how you're rated. The Real-Time Intelligence Center run by the police department is nowhere near that. I mean, it's not even close. Now, the thing, though, that is, I guess you could say, disturbing or encouraging would be the it's not exhaustive system of cameras, but there are hundreds of cameras that the police department that Rachel or her colleagues, and presumably there's going to be a growing list of intel officers ahead. The room is large enough to have probably 10 or 15 desks. I think I saw maybe 4 or 5 desks that had names on them, and Well, there were maybe about seven or 8 desks that had names on them, and were being used as part of the operation. On one wall is a gigantic sequence of screens. They're very closely fit together, so you can have one image cover the whole of it. And the image could be, say, a man waiting at an intersection. And this is one thing she did. She took one of the police cameras. There's a whole set that are clearly police cameras, and they are in, you might say, dangerous part of towns or hotspot part of towns, self-identified as police cameras. She filled the whole screen with a man waiting at an intersection, and she turned it into black and white. I'm not sure why, but maybe it increased the reception. And we all stood there watching. There were about 25 people in the class, and she zoomed in on the man behind the wheel. You can make him out almost exactly. It was at night. It was near 8 o'clock when we went in there, so it was already dark here in Chattanooga. And we could see that he was texting something. There was a woman next to him who couldn't make her out. You could see the seatbelt run between her breasts, and that was about all you could see of her. But you could really see a lot. And Rachel said, "Well, she's seen drug deals go down, but the point of this is not to try to make a scene of every private transaction of harmless narcotics or what have you. That's not the point. The point is really violent crime," she said, and that's how it's used. The cameras are everywhere. They some of them swivel, some of them pivot, and sometimes crimes occur right in front of cameras. There are 15 of the special police models out there, very heavy. There was a box of them in the back of the room. And she said they're very heavy and they're really kind of hard to. She didn't want to try to get one out to show us because it was so heavy. 16 more are coming in the next 2 months. She believes there has been a reduction in crime. Now, the China syndrome, the China argument, facial recognition software here in Chattanooga, no. And the number to call is 800-8949, 800-8949. David Toulis, do think about ringing me if you want to talk about something important, or maybe if you have a problem. Please let me know. One thing she pointed out was this: there's a system called Watson which allows for instantaneous delivery of information. So, for example, there's a shots fired call that turns out to be an actual shooting. You can send out an image, the best image that she can find of people who may have been involved in that, judging by the car, maybe a tag or maybe a model car. If there's not a tag that was photographed, clothing, that kind of thing. The best picture. She can send it out instantaneously by email to all the officers who may be in that district or around that district. And if it's a serious crime, of course, all the officers get that image by email, so they can have it on their screen instantly. And there's no reason that efficiency should not belong to this organization. But it's real time. She said it used to take 45 days before a report could be in the system. So think how that's a month and a month and a half. What kind of lag that is to have something that gets out about a particular incident or problem. So these are efficiencies, and this class of which I'm a part of, the Citizens Police Academy, learned about that yesterday. But I think the most significant thing is the idea that officers who are not under necessity, right, who are not under an emergency, are liable for the transportation statute because they are involved in transportation. They are commercial operators in that jurisdiction. And of course, the question I have, just to mention it again, if you're not following that story, is that is everybody involved in transportation? And the answer is no. And I sent a copy of a paper I'd written just a few days ago, put it out at newgonomics.com. And since I know Phil Noblet is in a way, he's deeply involved in municipal law, and has been the new city attorney, has been involved in municipal questions for a long time, having very uninformed, hadn't read Title 55, he just hadn't read it. So I've tried to say here's what this issue is about on my report about that. Please take a look at it. And so I sent him this morning through his open records person. Her name is Demetria Patton. I sent Demetria a copy of that report that talks about the rules for notice. When notice is given, notice has a claim upon you. Okay, so I was saying here, about the transportation administrative notice that says transportation and travel are distinct legally. Some people are just travelers, others are involved in transportation, and here's why getting a notice matters and why you can't just pretend that it's not an issue. So that is the service I provide as journalist here is interviewing and interrogating the statute to see what it actually says and passing the good word along. We have a very generous and liberal statute in Tennessee. It's a very good law, and it just has to be properly enforced, not over broadly enforced. Now, today's Friday. Tomorrow, make sure that you tune in to our great show every morning at 10 o'clock. It's called We've Got You Covered. We've Got You Covered Radio. Our host is Scott Schrader, and he has in his supply a legion of experts who will help you get you into your home better, get your home up to shape, up to snuff, and he will talk about all kinds of things touching the physical aspect, also other things, perhaps on financing, depending who the guest is. The guest supplies the expertise that he or she has. It's every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, presented by Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, and that's We've Got You Covered Radio right here with Scott. So do tune in to that program. I'm real concerned about this doctrine called parens patri. Now, it's a Latin. It effectively means that the father is the parent, right? And you have a father. I have a father who's deceased, but we all have fathers. We arrived here by conception. Father and mother joined in amorous trystings that we emerge 9 months later, bawling and soaking, or dried up, and we begin to learn the English language. And parens patri says that the state is your father, and we have as a result of decades of humanism and decades of a kind of impotent Christian church that has not been salt and light. We have an unchallenged claim in many points against us, against the family here in Chattanooga and Helmand County and across the country. This is a Western phenomenon. It is as Sir John Globe would probably see it, as a fin de siècle, end of the century kind of phenomenon, end of the empire, end of the age sort of phenomenon, where you have the overweening total state that is despotic and tyrannical. To be editorial about it, right? To be editorial and not just analytical. It is despotic and tyrannical, as against people such as Jesus Hernandez. Now, I wanted to mention this man who is having a funeral tomorrow for his wife, Rachel Renee Hernandez. She died on the 1st of October, age 34. And surviving are several people, including 2 children. There is Carlos Manuel Hernandez and Liliana Cristina Hernandez. These are this is a joining of an Anglo-Saxon woman and a man from Mexico who's been in the country for 21 years, and who is he was just extremely angry, though he doesn't really show that. Rather, he exhibits some tear and some very quiet grief in my observation. He is a man who is of very high integrity, a remarkable working man who works for as a foreman for AFS, the foundation people that has a very large service area that includes Chattanooga. I believe that company began in Huntsville, and its headquarters is there, but it is noted here. You can see its trucks everywhere. It's on billboards, and what it does is shore up leaning chimneys, bulging walls in your basement. You have sidewalks that are crumbling in. You have a sinkhole developing, maybe under a sidewalk in front of your house. He'll take care of that. And Michael Cox is the operations manager. He told me that Jesus is one of the best individuals I know by way of character. and worked with Michael Cox for 3 years, every day, very hardworking man, Hispanic, with a problem. The problem is not that he is a child abuser. The problem is not that he has abused his children. He's denied them food and drink. He has kept them out of the cool house in the summer or out of the warm house in the winter. Nothing like that. But rather, because he is you could say if you're going to be a conservative, okay, you say he's illegal. Okay, well, now, how is it that just because he is, quote, illegal, unquote, that parens patriae applies to him, and that his children have been stolen from him by DFCS, that is to say, the Division of Family and Children Services, the child trafficking people in state government. Yesterday, I spent some time looking through the statute of Georgia, about which I'm very weak. I read Tennessee law in the bathroom, and but Georgia law I know very little about. But there's something clear in the statute about what are grounds for removal of a child. What constitutes child abuse? How is it that being a man who has custody of his children now cannot have custody of his children, his legal children, his biological children, just because his papers are not in order, right? His papers are somehow defective, that somehow your documents don't have the right set of words on them, the right check marks, the right signatures, and now you're a criminal. You are no better than a sexual molester, and we are taking your children from you. So there's a wake today. I don't know if the children are there, under what circumstances. Maybe they've been denied access to the wake today, going on today until this evening, or tomorrow the funeral too. Tomorrow the funeral too. They're going to be there apparently under state supervision, under the police. Is that the world you want to have? Is that welcoming guests? Is that obeying God's laws, favoring the alien and the stranger? I wonder.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news. Now.
More road construction coming to the city. TDOT says contractors will be working on surface repairs for I-24 east near US 27. Work will start 9 p.m. Friday night, will finish by 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon. One lane of traffic will remain open at times, but the lane may change as construction continues. 2 men on the TBI's top 10 most wanted list arrested after a prison break. Dwayne Halfacre and Jonathan Baxter both allegedly attacked a prison guard and escaped from their holding facility. They were on the run for just a day. Dwayne Halfacre, no stranger to the fugitive life. He was the subject of an almost week-long manhunt following an armed robbery in Rutherford County. Then a young boy from Chattanooga diagnosed with a rare illness that's seen an increase in diagnosis across the country. It's called AFM, or acute flaccid myelitis. The condition is described as a very rapid onset of muscle weakness. The cause remains unknown. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio 92.7. Nooga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
We expect lots of sunshine and beautiful weather out there for your afternoon. High settling into the upper 60s. Tonight, high clouds will push in, still dry and cool, lows near 50. For Saturday, becoming mostly sunny, upper 60s. More clouds, may see a sprinkle, but not bad Sunday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's, it's always good. And I'm Soar Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick 4.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Buying a home is one of the most exciting things you will ever do, but it can also be scary and nerve-wracking. I'm Melanie Moore, owner and certified master inspector with Full Disclosure Property Inspection. Let me help calm those nerves by putting my 37-plus years of experience in the construction and inspection industry to work for you, providing you a thorough, well-explained quality inspection to make sure this home of your dreams doesn't become your nightmare. Call me, Melanie Moore, at 255-1300 or find me online at fdhomeinspection.com.
My ex recently hacked my email and my social media, and it really caused me some problems. I changed all my passwords, which helped, but I'm still getting trolled, maybe even stalked. I know it's him. I just can't prove it.
My business, well, it's been broken into twice already. I've got cameras, but that only helps after the fact. I'd rather prevent it from happening in the first place.
Unity One East is your solution to these and many other security concerns. With private investigation, security services, and backed by decades of real-life experience in military and law enforcement, Unity One East is your instant contact for security, investigation, and consultation to help protect you, your family, and your business. No 1-800 number, no red tape, no wait, because Unity One East is local and available 24/7. Reclaim your peace of mind. Call Unity One East, 475-6206, 475-6206.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Raines Group family. Remember, it's location, location, location. And the Raines Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will be able to suit your needs with the Raines Group. Call 423-875-3600 for the business professionals with the Raines Group.
Nuga Radio.
Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7.
Nuga Radio.
Hard! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads. I'm up north.
WPLZ HD4 Ottawa. W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe. The Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by ZipRecruiter.
I'm Jim Shannaby with a massive cleanup operation looming on Florida's Panhandle. FEMA Administrator Brock Long says crews have their priorities.
We're largely focused still on search and rescue in some of these areas. There was a tremendous amount of debris. And so when you look at this, the damage in Mexico Beach, that is where the ocean rose potentially 14 feet with wave action on top and just shoved buildings out of the way.
I'm Jim Crisula. Hurricane, then Tropical Storm Michael, may have caused a hard-to-comprehend $1 billion in agricultural losses in Georgia. There has been immense damage to the state's lucrative cotton and peanut plants and pecan trees. At a minimum, more than 2 million chickens were killed and 85 poultry houses that were destroyed.
The death toll stands at least 12. Catholic Cardinal Donald Wuerl, Archbishop of Washington, D.C., today stepped down over his handling of sex abuse cases. CBS's Anna Matranga.
It marks the end of what has been really an influential tenure for Wuerl of, almost 50 years. Certainly we're looking at the resignation of one of the U.S. Church's most powerful figures, and this is the first U.S. cardinal to resign over sex abuse since Cardinal Law resigned back in 2002.
Wuerl has been a close ally of Pope Francis and received the Pope's praise even as criticism was mounting over the Church's handling of alleged abuse. Turkey has freed Andrew Brunson, an American evangelical pastor who had lived 23 years in Turkey before being imprisoned 2 years ago on what the State Department considered trumped-up terror charges. President Trump had imposed sanctions on Turkey in retaliation.
I'm Cammie McCormick in Washington. This may relieve some of the tension in relations between the U.S. and Turkey, but the NATO allies still have issues to work through, like U.S. support for Kurdish fighters in Syria, which Turkey considers terrorists. Turkey still holds a former NASA scientist on terrorism charges, and Turkey wants the extradition of a cleric here in the U.S. who Ankara accuses of backing an attempted coup there.
Facebook says hackers accessed data on some 29 million accounts in that security breach disclosed 2 weeks ago, fewer than the 50 million first believed. Facebook VP Guy Rosen.
The attackers stole their friends' access tokens, then the access token of the friends of their friends, and so on and so forth. So they moved from account to account using an automated script, collecting tokens, repeatedly exploiting the vulnerability, using access tokens for about 400,000 people.
A rebound on Wall Street. CBS's Diane King Hall.
Stocks rallied in early trading after a two-day bloodbath on Wall Street. The rise in U.S. markets followed gains in overseas trading as investors went bargain hunting.
And right now on Wall Street, the Dow is up 44 points. This is CBS News.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified candidates for businesses of all sizes. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
See why more than 3 million companies worldwide use Indeed to hire. Post your job at Indeed.com/hire. Indeed, the world's #1 job site. Source.com score total visits.
Hi, it's Patty LaBelle with a tip on making breakfast even better with Eggland's Best. Now, you know not all eggs are created equal, right? If you only want the best tasting, freshest, and the most nutritious eggs for yourself and your family, replace those ordinary eggs with Eggland's Best. Eggland's Best eggs have 25% less saturated fat, 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and so much more. That's why I only use Eggland's Best in my house.
Hard times for a hard rocker. Jim Taylor reports.
Her husband, Ozzy, feels like he's letting down his audience. Surgery on his right hand, forcing cancellation of the last 4 shows of his second No More Tours tour. Shows to be rescheduled next year. Ozzy is asking fans to be patient. Jim Taylor, CBS News. The Me Too movement hasn't caught up with bodybuilder turned actor turned governor Arnold Schwarzenegger yet, but it probably could. Schwarzenegger, in an interview with Men's Health, admits he stepped over the line several times with women, says he feels bad about it, admits he made mistakes, and apologizes. He also said he's sorry he called political opponents girly men. Jim Chenevey, CBS News.
When it's too cold for...
3, 2,
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Cops say a man led them on a high-speed car chase in which 3 cop cars got damaged down Jersey Pike. They tried to stop Jerome Brown in a felony stop, but he kept on going. Brown's accused in a robbery from back in August where the victim said that he held up a fake police badge, announced himself as the cops, and then proceeded to rob him. Hundreds of Hamilton County residents stormed the Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department to express their distaste at the idea of a sewage plant to be placed at Man Gap Road. People shouted and booed the WWTA director. Another meeting set to be held later in October. A home was decimated by a blaze on Rock Bluff Road at the Hidden Harbor subdivision. WDEF reports 2 men and an elderly woman were inside the building when it first started, but they managed to get out. Firefighters say the roof collapsed and the building became unstable. Fire investigators working to find the cause. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Expect lots of sunshine and beautiful weather out there for your afternoon. High settling into the upper 60s. Tonight, high clouds will push in, still dry and cool, lows near 50. For Saturday, becoming mostly sunny, upper 60s. More clouds, may see a sprinkle, but not bad Sunday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's, it's always good. And I'm Sourcine 12, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Ford.
Radio 92.7. Listen to that. That's the sound of power and the call of the open road. That's the sound of the newly designed 2019 Indian Chieftain Limited. Yeah, Indian. It's more than a bike. It's an experience and an American icon. The place to find it, Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga, along with their entire new 2019 line. The open road is calling. Answer the call. Go to Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga. Just look for the sign on 153 and Amnicola. Indian Motorcycle, the true American original.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nooga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between. Saturday mornings, 10 to 12, right here on Nooga Radio.
For your small business, ending the year the right way can set you up for success come January. No need to let end-of-year panic set in. Easy Books and Taxes can help set up your books or new payroll service so that you can relax and enjoy the holiday season. With 35 years, bookkeeping, individual, and business tax preparation, it's easy. With Easy Books and Taxes, you run the business, we keep the books. Call us today at 423-755-0821.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
The name is David Toulis. I spent probably too much time at university. I went to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville for 4 years, got a bachelor's degree in English. And then after living in Switzerland for a couple of years, I went to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga with a master's in English. And I paid part of the freight by being a teacher of first-year students. It was called, it was like an internship. It was called fellowship, not a fellowship, but an assistantship, it was called. And so I did some teaching and paid the freight. But what about you? What about paying the way for college for your children? This is a question that I think bedevils many people, because we hear about the huge inflation, the rise in prices of the universities. And we're hearing in reports about the gigantic administration that you're paying for, and the loss of results. And we all know many people who are educated with degrees who are doing something completely beyond and apart from that which they studied for at the university. So to hear about our plan and to figure out how to think or rethink going to the university or paying for children's visits there or stays there, we're talking with Kevin Cherrick. Kevin is an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. He's 37 years old. And is in one of his businesses today is Infinite Closet. He'll maybe say something about that. But the father of 6 children, ages 3 months to 9 years, lives in Hickson. And Kevin, I want to know what to do. I have children who are college age and one to be college age. What do I need to rethink from my time at the university?
Well, thanks for having me on, David. And I want to commend you, because today at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, only 39% of what they call first-time, full-time students graduate in 4 years. So you got through in 4 years, so you're to be commended for that. And so your extra time, at least, was getting you towards additional degrees, which is something that we can't really say. UTK has a 68% graduation rate if you give them 6 years. And the vast majority of the other students transfer out or drop out. So the big issue here is that we have a traditional kind of inherited view of how to make and think about these college decisions. And if you're a parent and you have a child who is, in their teenage years, you're probably 30 years outside of your one experience of going through it as a student, of applying for schools and going and paying. And the problems are that the academy has changed drastically in 30 years. The economy has changed drastically in 30 years. And we can no longer necessarily make out-of-pocket investments to get us onto a one-way track to success, which is kind of what we think of when we think about college into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The college costs really started to balloon in the 21st century. And we have some statistics for that. So, for example, the University of Tennessee at Knoxville cost $2,744 in 1998 to go for a year for tuition, less than $3,000. I mean, that's the kind of money that a student can waitress and bartend and work their way through. You make money over the summers and you can write a check. Today, it's almost $12,000. So it's quadrupled in cost. And that's just tuition. That's not room and board. Once you start talking about room and board, you're looking upwards of $23,000 for your taxpayer-funded in-state public school education. Full time, which is 15 hours or so. That's right. A lot of schoolwork to have to do. Right, exactly. And then we also know on the economy side that you don't just graduate from a great program in college, summa cum laude, get your first job in the executive track of IBM, and hang on for 45 years until you get your gold watch and your pension. Right, that is just gone. And so we have to understand that with the rampant inflation in educational costs, we see rampant inflation in student lending. Now, the real issue with student loan debt is it can never be discharged. It's non-bankruptable, right? So this is not your credit card.
What does that mean practically? It's non-bankruptable.
That means
give a picture of what that means.
That means you will be paying on it forever. So
even from your Social Security.
Oh, they can garnish your wages. They can take away your Social Security. And the reason is because these student loans are backstopped by the federal government. So you owe the federal government, and what we all know is that is a creditor you do not want hanging around your house. And that makes it different than any other kind of debt. Not only is it not attached to a tangible asset, but it's not bankruptable like a credit card, which is an unsecured debt that's going to hit a made-up credit score that the financial companies made to get you to chase after and work your whole life around so that you can get more debt. We won't kind of go down that pathway too far. But the point is, as you're thinking about your student, it used to be the paradigm was, hey, we'll send you to school and you're going to find out what you want to do. And you just can't afford to do that anymore when the average student is taking out over $6,000 a year in student loans. That's the average. These are University of Tennessee state school students. We have to be much more intentional in our thinking. And I always think that when you hear alternative ways of thinking about a process, that's where you have your greatest opportunity for growth. When we're talking about traditional paradigms, let's optimize out. You're limited in how much you can grow, but we're going to invert the traditional way to think about how to apply to colleges, pay for colleges, and what you want to get out of colleges to line up with our current paradigm of careers are uncertain, jobs are uncertain. The average professional is going to change careers, some say 5, 6, 7 times in a lifetime of their working life. So you don't just say, well, I went and I got my law degree. That's it. I'm a lawyer. Or I went and I got my engineering degree, or I'm a journalist, or whatever it is. That just doesn't happen anymore because people have to be so flexible. What that does is it lowers the value of the college education at the same time that the cost is going up and people are paying for it with non-dischargeable student loan debt. So what does that mean? Well, I found this book by Jeannie Berlowski called Launch: How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs They Love. And this was an eye-opener for me. I absolutely consumed this like a swarm of locusts attacking Pa on the ranch out in Little House on the Prairie. And I loved it because it was so different than what I had heard before. Away from just, well, we're going to choose a college by what's close. Where do my friends go? What's a brand I recognize? What has a successful football team? This one takes a very individualized approach to your student. And so it's a lot of work to understanding what are the talents, gifts, and interests of the student, because that's going to dictate how they will most profitably want to spend their time as a professional. You know, we see a real lack of liberal arts education at the college level now. And that is parents responding to the economic incentives. They are recognizing that college is now vocational education for the knowledge economy. There's no more learning how to think. There's no more read the great thinkers of Western civilization. If the school even has Western civilization as a topic or as a course anymore. No, parents are rationally asking, who are the employers? What is the placement rate in a career within 6 months of graduation? And what are median salaries when they graduate?
So they're looking
from
at universities not as places for their children to be educated,
no,
but for their children to be schooled for the purpose of employment, which is not an educational goal anymore.
That's right. It is vocational education for the knowledge economy. You know, we used to say vocational ed. Well, that was go be a plumber, because it was very clear skills that would get you into a clear line of work. And now, right, we're saying, hey, engineering, computer science, business, communication, you're going to go into how is this going to translate directly into earnings upon graduation? Because tick, 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 6 months after you graduate, you have to start making those student loan payments, which are an average of $274 a month on a standard 10-year repayment schedule at 5%, which is what the federal rates are now. So What are we going to do with your child, with your student today? You have a student in high school. If it's not just apply to the University of Alabama because they've got a really good football team, which is an amazing story on how much their applications have soared. They've grown their student body 33% since Nick Saban took over. And is that how you should be choosing a college? Their football team is really good, right? We're gonna try to do it a little bit differently, right? So what Jeannie Berlowski in her book Launch, How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and into Jobs They Love, she inverts the process and says, look, the first thing we have to understand is what are the natural giftings of your child? And she has a few ways that she recommends that you do this. Number one is after 10th grade, so the summer or after January of their 10th grade year, we are going to do a student assessment that involve a number of, they call them tests or assessments. One is the StrengthsFinder 2.0 test. Have you heard of StrengthsFinder 2.0? It's been around for 20, 25 years. I did this in my corporate life back in the aughts. And what this tells you is kind of how you like to work, right? And the second is what they call a strong interest inventory. The third is personality typing through MBTI. And then the fourth is a book called Do What You Are by Tiger, Tieger is the author's last name. And these tests work together to discover what are your natural inclinations and bents. Do you like to work with your hands and have something tangible at the end of the day to say, look, I can see what I worked on? Do you like to work in abstraction? Do you find it invigorating to work with a lot of people in a chaotic environment? Would you rather be by yourself, crafting a document perfectly? Because work-life satisfaction is really going to play into not only how productive are you in your job and then how much are you going to make, but how happy are you with your life in general? When we think about a third of your life is at work, right? 8 hours a day, many more hours a day than that. So we have to start to think about who is this person? What are their gifts? And what type of careers might feed into that naturally?
Well, where in the process today do these tests take place? Only entering the university? Don't the high school guidance counselors give these tests, Kevin Cherrick?
Some may. In some colleges, there are over 300 colleges called Strengths Campuses, with which all incoming freshmen will do like the StrengthsFinder test. But I'm not going to take the chance that my kid's high school does it, right? As a parent, as an active, intentional parent, and that's kind of the theme of this is we want to be intentional. See, anytime you do what everyone always did before you, I'm worried. There can be a lot of good reasons why people have done in the past, but let's evaluate whether those reasons still hold in the world we live in today. So, we're going to take these things, we're going to find out, and that's going to, then what Jeannie recommends is that you invest time with a specific career counselor who administers these and then can say, here's a list of the types of careers, people who have your interests, your personality type, and your strengths thrive in. And that gives you, as a 10th grader, the opportunity to now start to do some job shadow, to do some networking, to visit some people and start to get an idea, what type of work do I want to do? Because most kids, they have no idea what all the options are vocationally. They have firsthand experience with teachers, whatever their parents did, and what they see on TV and entertainment and movies. So superhero is not a major yet at University of Tennessee. So it's like, okay, you want to be a cop, you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a teacher, you want to be a business person, your dad's a dentist, so you become a dentist. So this gives you an opportunity to say, look, here's a list of careers that we can start to explore based off of who you are individually that allow you to then work backwards and say, now that we've got this list of interests that you've explored and you've, job shadowed, you've done some informational interviews, now what education is required to get into that? There are actually very few and dwindling numbers of careers where a college degree is actually required. If you want to be an attorney, you got to get a undergraduate degree. It's not like it was in the 18th century when you could apprentice and study law. They called it, you would study law. You just go in and you would read the books yourself And then you would go apprentice and work with somebody, and then you would hang your shingle. They don't let you do that anymore because of regulatory fears, right? So you start to figure out, okay, the careers you want to explore require what kind of education, be it a 4-year, be it a 2-year, be it a certificate, be it you don't need an education. And that's going to dictate and allow you to simply find out where will your dollar be best served, rather than just the default of, well, I know I got to get a 4-year degree, a bachelor's. And so the only question is, do I do it in-state? Do I do it private? Do I do community college and transfer? All great options for the right student, right? So, and once we've got that down, then we're going to be able to say, I need to develop a professional network. Now, I want to talk one moment. Go ahead.
The number to call is 800-8949 if you'd like to have a question answered by Kevin Cherrick. We're talking about a very interesting book by Jeannie Brolowski, and it is about college, how to get your kids through college debt-free. The number is 800-8949. Call and chat with Kevin, tell your story perhaps, and get some suggestions. Kevin Cherrick, the number 800-8949, 800-8949. Go ahead.
So far we've talked about, okay, let's work backwards instead of forwards, right? The traditional paradigm is you're going to pick a school and then you'll figure out a major after you pick a school. And once you figured out a major, then we'll start to decide what employers, what careers we're going to go into from that major. Jeannie's big breakthrough is to invert that, and with high school students start to decide, hey, what careers are good for you now? That will dictate educational choices, and that will dictate how much money you need to come up with to be able to pay for it without going into debt, which, you know, the percentages of students who are defaulting and ruining their credit scores and getting their wages garnished are climbing every single year. So the next thing that happens, what I love about this book is that it's broken down by semester, starting in 7th grade. Tells you exactly what to do that semester, checklist at the back. So it's very bite-sized. It's something that you can really do quite easily. So once you've determined what the right educational route is, then she can say, okay, how are we going to pay for it? Now, the answer is one that I would have absolutely scoffed at when I was going through the process myself in the late 90s. And that was, number one, scholarships. Scholarships seemed like a complete waste of time to me. It was like, these scholarships are $100, $250, $500 increments. In the context of a $30,000 annual bill, just didn't seem like it was worth it to me. What's the point? You're not going to pay for this thing. It's drops in the bucket. This is going to take too long. Jeannie's ideas are this. One is you're going to have your student apply for 10 scholarships every summer vacation starting in 7th grade. And there are actual scholarships available for middle schoolers. There's a couple of things to remember with this. I've got 6 points that you can take away from the scholarship process. One is that there's a diminished marginal effort for each additional scholarship you apply for. The first scholarship is a real pain in the butt to apply for. I even looked them up for some of my nephews. I've got a nephew who just finished up. He's in his sophomore year now. And you start going through this and your eyes start glazing over and it's like, oh, these questions are terrible. I hate these questions. I immediately, had terrible flashbacks of trying to do this myself when I was in high school. The reality is, once you've written out 3 or 4 crafted essays, then you're just editing and pivoting and kind of adjusting it to what the questions are. And so the first one's a big pain in the butt. The 12th application is like, you got done in 30 minutes. It's not hard at all. And so that's something that's not only a principle that I want my children to understand, but it's something that's going to work in their favor if you can just get them over the hump of doing those first 2 or 3 applications. The second principle that comes away from Jeannie Brolowski's scholarship principle is that everyone loves a winner. So in these scholarship applications, it asks you to list the other scholarships you have won. And what you should really do as a 7th, 8th, 9th grader, when you're ahead of the curve, not just a junior where everybody's applying for scholarships and where the majority of scholarships are targeted for, is you should be searching out for small, local niche scholarships where the applicant pool is low and you have a very high opportunity to win. So you can start saying, oh, I'm the Kevin Cherrick Scholarship Award honoree for 2018. Oh, that's very impressive. Wow, that's amazing. And then that goes on to the next scholarship application, and they start saying, well, this person's obviously, they're someone who's very impressive. They've won these 3 scholarships. They don't know 8 people applied for the 3 scholarships in total. In fact, there are many scholarships that no one ever applies for. So you have to understand everyone loves a winner. Of course, that goes on your college applications, boost your status, right? This is something that goes on your LinkedIn profile. Jeannie has this big idea about making a LinkedIn profile for your student, which we'll talk about right after this.
David Toulis here. Thanks for talking with us, Kevin Cherrick. We're going to hear more about college debt avoidance and tricks for preparing younger children for getting into the college system without huge expense coming away at your advantage. The number to call is 800-8949. That's 800-8949. David Toulis here with Kevin Cherrick. We'll be right back. Got some important messages for you to consider. Love and favor our sponsors. David Toulis.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
More road construction coming to the city. TDOT says contractors will be working on surface repairs for I-24 east near US 27. Work will start 9 p.m. Friday night, will finish by 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon. One lane of traffic will remain open at times, but the lane may change as construction continues. 2 men on the TBI's top 10 most wanted list arrested after a prison break. Dwayne Halfacre and Jonathan Baxter both allegedly attacked a prison guard and escaped from their holding facility. They were on the run for just a day. Dwayne Halfacre, no stranger to the fugitive life. He was the subject of an almost week-long manhunt following an armed robbery in Rutherford County. And a young boy from Chattanooga diagnosed with a rare illness that's seen an increase in diagnosis across the country. It's called AFM, or acute flaccid myelitis. The condition is described as a very rapid onset of muscle weakness. The cause remains unknown. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Get 8.1% return on your money. Rick Davis can turn your cash into real money. Gold and silver bullion. American Eagle Gold. The banks give you a measly 1.9%. At Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, you'll get 8.1% return on your money. 8.1% return on your money. Wow! Whether you're buying an ounce or 100 ounces, Rick guarantees it in writing. 8.1% Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
Let's face it, Old Faithful isn't as faithful as it used to be. Constant repairs are a hassle and can rack up quick in money and time. Landers McClarty Ford can fix that. Right now, you can get a 2016 Ford Focus, 34,000 miles, only $11,491. A 2017 Chevy Spark with only 17,000 miles for less than $12,000. A 2015 Volkswagen Jetta with less than 21,000 miles for $11,991. Yeah, browse their entire inventory of new and new-to-you cars, trucks, and SUVs online at Landers McCarty Ford at FortPayne.com. Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. If you can't find your next perfect ride, they'll go find it for you. Big city selection, small town prices, friendly service, and top dollar for your trade. The savings are waiting and only a short drive away, so what are you waiting for? Get started with your personalized shopping today at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com.
Join Nooga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships, as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
I'm Bo Watson, and I approve this ad.
Hi, I'm Nicole Watson. You may know my husband, Bo Watson. And beginning October 17th, you and I can go to the polls and begin early voting in Tennessee. When you vote, I ask that you elect the one person that believes in a better Tennessee. Bo has a plan of making jobs, education, and safety a priority for all of us. I ask for your vote to re-elect Bo Watson for State Senate.
Paid for by friends of Bo Watson, Boy W. Watson III, Treasurer, votefortennessee.com.
Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need Amco Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. Amco Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet way. Yeah, I just put that anywhere.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nuga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between.
Saturday mornings, 10 to 12, right here on Nuga Radio.
Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect lots of sunshine and beautiful weather out there for your afternoon. High settling into the upper 60s tonight. High clouds will push in, still dry and cool, lows near 50. For Saturday, becoming mostly sunny, upper 60s. More clouds, may see a sprinkle, but not bad Sunday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's, it's always good. And I'm Sorgene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick 4.
The radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
I've always thought college was a racket business industry, and there's a mass inflation going on in the university sector right now because of easy credit and cheap money, and the costs are rising, and also the administration is rising to phenomenal levels. The middlemen, the minders, the bean counters in every university, just about. So there's a question about the use of the university, the utility of the university. My children are homeschooled, and one got a traditional degree of the three that are out of the house. He went to UTC and had an internship in the computing field at TVA, and does not speak very highly of the local university and that department. The other two, one went straight into the military when he got his high school diploma from his parents, and the other went at age 17 to Manhattan to art school, which was an atelier school in which she learned drawing and sculpting, and that's all she got. And now she is a young artist in New York, living in Holland and working on her own at about age 27. And then there's one more. So I've not argued for the university, though I have a master's degree myself, and I don't think it's really worth a great deal. And it did cost my family a considerable amount of money. We're talking with Kevin Cherrick about thinking through this whole process in an upside down way. He's proposing an alternative to the traditional way of looking at whether we should have university educations for ourselves or urge our children into them. And we're going to hear from this entrepreneur who's 37 years old, a father of 6 children, with his wife, Joy, living in Hickson. He's also runs a small business called Infinite Closet, which he runs as a side gig. Kevin Cherrick, how is my listener likely thinking about university expenses ahead for children, and what, in a nutshell, is the way of thinking about it in an upside down way for his or her benefit?
Sure. Thanks so much, David. The traditional way of thinking about their college choices are, what school am I going to go to? Most 17-year-old students don't really have a clear picture of what they want to get their degree in or what they want to spend their work life doing. Completely understandable. They've had one experience repeated for 12 years. They spend all their time in an institutional school. They're legally barred from working until they're typically at least 16. Huge restrictions. They can't get any real life experience, so they don't have any experience. With no experience, how could you make a decision given an almost infinite number of options for what do you want to do with your career. So we've kind of decided, well, college is the time to figure that out. But it's really just marginally better than high school. Your classroom experience is a little bit different, a little bit more flexible. You get to choose. You have a greater decision over what you're going to study. But this is based off of what the courses sound like, what you've seen people do. I mean, there's really not a lot of informed decision making. And so most students end up, well, I don't know, I'll go get my communications degree. Lots of students at this school get that. Or I heard that program was good. Or my dad told me that average salaries in the nursing program are higher than, being a lifeguard, which is what I wanted to do. So you're going to be a nurse because I think healthcare demand is going to be big for the next 40 years. So, parents are making these decisions based off of statistics of job placement and career earnings. Kids don't really know what to do. And so they choose a college for any number of reasons. They choose a major for any number of reasons. And then you go, well, who's interviewing on campus? I'll show up. And then boom, you're out. And all of a sudden, most likely you owe $275 a month in student loans, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. And right at the time when it's all due, like there's not an opportunity to test things out when you are still having your lifestyle paid for by your parents. Oh, except for 33% of 25 to 29-year-olds live with their parents or grandparents. So, and that number has tripled since the 1970s. So you see people falling back because the economy, coupled with the rampant inflation in college, has become a disaster for students who don't have any direction, don't have any work experience. And how are they going to get it? I mean, if you're an employer, it's a very difficult proposition to say, sure, I'll pay you $40,000 a year to figure out if you like this. And I'll train you because you don't really have any training. We still have to train you vocationally. So that's been typical. We can't afford to just send students into the giant maw of upper education and say, well, figure it out. I'm sure it's fine. You'll graduate with $27,000 in non-dischargeable student loan debt. Maybe I've co-signed on some Parent Plus loans. Maybe I've taken out my retirement. I mean, the financial aid office, when they sit here and say, how much is your retirement worth and how much is your house worth? And we're going to factor that all in. Honestly, it's a crime. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble here. I don't know what the legal rules are about libel and slander, but these folks really need to reevaluate their processes because they're willing to bankrupt anyone and everyone, backstopped by the federal government, as long as they get paid. So Jeannie Berlowski has flipped this entirely on its head and said, no. We're not have a blank check, and we're not going to be signing on personal guarantees for student loans based off of the hope that you'll figure something out in 6 years. And in the meantime, there'll be lots of parties and lots of drinking and lots of football games to go to. She says, look, it's gotten so expensive. We don't have that luxury anymore. We need to be intentional. Let's find out on an individual level, who is your student? Who is your child? What are their gifts, interests, and strengths? And what career might be a good fit for them. So once we start working backwards from career dictates the educational choices that need to be made. Do I need to go to college at all? What kind of college? What programs are required? What do those cost? Now we start looking at costs. We start looking at, do I do a 2-year college? If I need a 4-year degree, do I transfer in? Do I do AP credits? Do I do CLEP credits? Is ROTC an option? Should I go into the military first and have the GI Bill pay for me to go to college later? Lots of different options, but now you have a path to go through that says, I've actually, with some information, figured out what I want to do. Now, this is all assuming that college at some level is what you want to do. Now, Brian Kaplan, who's a college professor himself at George Mason University, he's an economic professor. He has written an incredible book called The Case Against Education, in which he absolutely takes apart the signaling theory, which says that, he takes apart the value theory, value add theory, which is human capital, which is that education is an investment in your skills and who you are as a person. He says, no, there's absolutely no evidence that college adds skills. In fact, there have been studies that have shown that over the 4 years from freshman to senior year, writing ability goes backwards in college. So what we're really talking about is this signal, right? Employers are going to say, oh, you have a college degree that tells me something about you. You're able to complete a project that you started under less supervision than when you were at your parents' house, most likely. You're conforming to standards of our 21st century civilization. And these are your grades, and these are your recommendations, and these are the different activities you've been in. Okay, fine. But it doesn't really mean much from the perspective of how are you going to do at the job, right? Now, an entrepreneur named Isaac Morehouse has developed this company called Praxis, which you can find more about at discoverpraxis.com. And he says, look, college is a signal. And what we need to do is move away from a signal and move towards a portfolio-based approach. What this means is, if you are applying for a job, is it better to have a signal that says, I'm a college graduate, or a portfolio of work that the employer can look at to see, how does this person think? How do they communicate? How do they write? And what have they done in the past? And the great thing about this age, with all the tools we have available on the internet, is that it's easier than ever to document the type of work you have done. The second advantage of the portfolio idea is you can actually network. If you're a senior in college, the median senior in college, you have almost nothing to talk to a 40-year-old professional about. You have no skills. You have no work experience. Your life experience is drastically different. What am I going to talk to if I were to try to go to network and develop a professional network? What am I going to talk to a 40-year-old professional about? Nothing. There's nothing to talk about. I went to a rager last Saturday night. It was awesome.
A rager?
A party. This is a party. We were getting into yearbook definitions of slang. We're back into that world now. If a student follows the Praxis concept of documenting and developing their own projects, interests, and work experience, then they have an online portfolio, be it blogs, be it podcasts, be it a simple website under their name that says, hey, look, this is what I did. It could be, in the past, this was like an Eagle Scout project, was you had to have this big project that you put together. You can do that sort of thing, but you can see a high school or college age student developing online businesses, developing offline businesses, developing copywriting and email and technology skills that they can all put on there and say, look, I helped this company improve their login, their email responses, and here are the results. And when you have results, that means that you can actually have something to talk to someone about. When I talk to a 40-year-old professional as a 20-year-old, and they say, oh, well, I own Ace Hardware down here. So, oh, interesting. Like, tell me, do you have an email list for your customers? How do you work on that? That's something that a 20-year-old could develop some expertise in a matter of months, possibly a matter of weeks. And now I can have a discussion of how I can add value rather than, oh, well, I'm a business major. Do you have a job? Do you have any kind of a corporate headquarters? Can I come in and, I don't know, financially analyze
maybe
something for you? Yeah, exactly. You can give us a call, talk about college applications, what process you're going through with your student at 800-8949. That's 800-8949. Discoverpraxis.com. These guys, TK Coleman and Isaac Morehouse, they developed this idea of the public portfolio of, instead of signals, credentialing, telling people I'm worthwhile because I have a degree. You can show your work, document the experience that you're developing on your own, and they tell you about how to do that. Really important to think in these terms. And I think even if you do develop a degree and get a degree, which still has value to a large amount of the population, start to think about, how could I develop a public portfolio to be able to show people and stand out? Because all that means, all that degree gets you is in the applicant pool, right? And then everybody's got to use their filters to figure out, well, how do I actually determine who I'm going to interview?
Well, what's in a portfolio, Kevin?
It depends on on the person, right? It depends on their interest.
Flesh it out with an example.
Well, your daughter's portfolio is very clear, right? She works in a certain medium. Is she a 2D artist? Is she a 3D artist? Here's what I've got. Here's what it is. She could set up a camera and have a live view of her doing her art and talking about it like Bob Ross, and I'm going to put fluffy little clouds up here, and she could start developing an audience that way. And then maybe she could start to earn some of her own apprentices, and she brings in 2 students who want to learn something about them. And now she's got this whole other thing going on while she's developing herself as an artist, right? Now, but that's the artist route. let's say I'm not artistic. I'm not artistic at all. And my children have inherited this talent. I haven't told them yet that their art is terrible. I'm just going to let the world develop that over time. Maybe you say, oh, I'm interested in business and I want to set up a blog around my interest. And I'm going to start to write regularly. So one of their challenges at Praxis is you have to blog every day for 30 days. You find something to write about. But the idea of communicating coherent thoughts through the written word is so important and lacking that when an employer Googles your name and up comes your blog and they can go back and see 30 days, money, obviously keep this habit going over time. You've got 3 years worth of blog posts. You learn about your interests, you learn about how you convey those interests. Is this person a good cultural fit, which is such a big part of work these days? And more importantly, how are they going to represent themselves, my company, and how are they going to be able to communicate through the written word? So that's something, a lot of students start getting into copy editing and copywriting. And how can I find something and then try to sell it? Gary Vee is huge on this. He talks all the time about going out and, garage selling or yard selling, tag, wherever the regions have different names for all these things. Go out and buy things cheap and sell them on eBay and Facebook. And if you start to say, this is not a mixtape of 80s music that this guy threw out for a penny because it's a tape. No one even has a tape. If you start to think, who would this have actual value for? Someone who has a tape player, someone who's nostalgic for the 70s, and then you could write up a whole landing page, website, attach some Facebook ads to it. You could go and say, look, and at the end of the day, the project was, I bought this mixtape from some dude for 1 penny. I sold it for $10, a mixtape. Because I was able, you can go to the website, you can see the story I was able to tell. In a day when I can go on Spotify and get all the same songs, why was I able to create $10 of value for something that you can get for free? Is because I'm tracking into the nostalgia of someone who says, yeah, remember when I had to put the popsicle stick in there and wind back the tape when it got off screws? Like, how could you actually do that? That might tell someone something if I'm trying to hire for a sales or a marketing position. Imagine if I had that. That tells me a heck of a lot more than I got a 3.7 from UTC in marketing. Hire me. Here's actual work. Now, I may think that's stupid. But at least I've got evidence of written work, creative thinking, got a project done. This person is probably going to be someone at least I want to talk to and find out. And that's obviously the first name of the game. So there's an infinite number of ways that you can document your portfolio in public rather than just saying, hey, I've got this signal. I hope this signal is better than that guy's signal who's from a different school. My school is better. Or my grades are 1/10 of a point higher. Or I had this extracurricular. It's very difficult to prove better. It's very easy to prove different. Different is what gets our attention, right? And that's the first thing we have to do in any of these arenas is pattern interrupt. Right. So Jeannie Berlowski, she has inverted the pattern and said, understand your students specifically by using a specific set of assessment tools to understand what their strengths, what their interests, and what their personality is, what type of work are they going to want to do. She recommends going through career counselors. I did some research on this week. You're probably looking at about $300 to invest in a series of assessments and
in the 10th grade.
In the 10th grade.
And the number is 800-8949 a call if you have a question for Kevin Cherrick. Kevin Cherrick here, David Toulis. The number is 800-8949. Got time for a quick question if you want to ask.
Yep. That will give you a career direction that can inform what education decisions you need to make. Once you've determined the best route from an educational standpoint, right? Remember, we're talking about education for the knowledge economy, vocational education. Then she talks about, okay, the old standby of scholarships, bite-sized, 10 per summer from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th of the goal all the way through college. You can keep applying for scholarships while you're in college. So she wants 80 applications, developing the idea that everyone loves a winner, developing the idea of diminished marginal effort, meaning the 10th scholarship is way easier to apply for than the first. Developing the idea of focus on process and not on goals, which is a principle that I use all the time. It's very difficult to stay on top of. The goal is not win a scholarship. The goal is apply to 10 scholarships this summer. And once you start to make that paradigm shift, it really helps you with regards to career development. Oh, I didn't make senior VP by the time I was 30. My life's a failure. No, we're going to have process-oriented goals, right? My thinking is I'm a success as long as I'm doing my process, right? And investors think about this all the time. There are a load of things that Jeannie Berlowski goes into in her book, Launch, How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free, which we're not even going to talk about as far as earning college credit in high school, through AP, through CLEP, through a lot of these community college programs.
Dual enrollment.
Exactly. She talks about college co-op programs that allow you to work as a part of the curriculum, which is a very interesting program that probably about 30 or 40 colleges have. These work colleges that are free but require each student to work while they are there. Very interesting. ROTC, tuition reimbursement from employers. You know, a lot of people will go work at Starbucks because they have tuition reimbursement, and they will be able to work their way through college while getting health benefits, working as a barista at Starbucks, and get that tuition reimbursement. She has an in-depth section on questions to ask admissions offices to make sure that you're making a fully informed decision, which I think is important. And she comes down to her 3 rules of choosing college. Number 1, the local state school may not be the cheapest option for you. This is somewhat counterintuitive because when you look at sticker price, you know, UT Knoxville is something like $28,000 a year. Vanderbilt, $68,000 a year. Well, no brainer, right? Go to UTK. Well, Vanderbilt may have more resources to be able to pay you more money in merit or earned financial aid. So their bottom line net price may be cheaper than UTK. You just don't know. So she recommends applying to at least 2 or 3 more expensive private schools because they oftentimes have greater financial resources.
We're talking with Kevin Cherrick, and I'm not sure we can get all of the fine points on that one, but Kevin Cherrick runs Infinite Closet. Just a quick word on what that is.
Micro storage on demand. We have storage boxes that we deliver to your door. You pack them, we store them.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, David. Thank you.
David Toulis here. We are glad you're giving us this minute of your time, brought to you by Nuganomics.com. Make sure you take part and enjoy the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show. That's tomorrow and Sunday in Rome, Georgia. Get your ticket at wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. Wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. David Toulis. Next, Sean.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
More road construction coming to the city. TDOT says contractors will be working on surface repairs for I-24 east near US 27. Work will start 9 p.m. Friday night, will finish by 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon. 1 lane of traffic will remain open at times, but the lane may change as construction continues. 2 men on the TBI's top 10 most wanted list arrested after a prison break. Dwayne Halfacre and Jonathan Baxter both allegedly attacked a prison guard and escaped from their holding facility. They were on the run for just a day. Dwayne Halfacre, no stranger to the fugitive life. He was the subject of an almost week-long manhunt following an armed robbery in Rutherford County. Then a young boy from Chattanooga diagnosed with a rare illness that's seen an increase in diagnosis across the country. It's called AFM, or acute flaccid myelitis. The condition is described as a very rapid onset of muscle weakness. The cause remains unknown. Val St. John for Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
We expect lots of sunshine and beautiful weather out there for your afternoon. High settling into the upper 60s. Tonight, high clouds will push in, still dry and cool, lows near 50. For Saturday, becoming mostly sunny, upper 60s. More clouds, may see a sprinkle, but not bad Sunday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily. Locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm Sorgene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick 4.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Buying a home is one of the most exciting things you will ever do, but it can also be scary and nerve-wracking. I'm Melanie Moore, owner and certified master inspector with Full Disclosure Property Inspection. Let me help calm those nerves by putting my 37 plus years of experience in the construction and inspection industry to work for you, providing you a thorough, well-explained quality inspection to make sure this home of your dreams doesn't become your nightmare. Call me, Melanie Moore, at 255-1300 or find me online at fdhomeinspection.com.
My ex recently hacked my email and my social media, and it really caused me some problems. I changed all my passwords, which helped, but I'm still getting trolled, maybe even stalked. I know it's him. I just can't prove it.
My business, well, it's been broken into twice already. I've got cameras, but that only helps after the fact. I'd rather prevent it from happening in the first place.
Unity One East is your solution to these and many other security concerns. With private investigation, security services, and backed by decades of real-life experience in military and law enforcement, Unity One East is your instant contact for security, investigation, and consultation to help protect you, your family, and your business. No 1-800 number, no red tape, no wait, because Unity One East is local and available 24/7. Reclaim your peace of mind. Call Unity One East, 475-6206, 475-6206.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Rains Group family. Remember, it's location, 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 and the Rains Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will be able to suit your needs with the Rains Group. Call 423-875-3600 for the business professionals with the Rains Group.
Nuga Radio. Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours with Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7
Nuga Radio.
Hard! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads. I'm up north.
WPLZ HD4 Ottawa. W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe. The Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Quicken Loans.
I'm Jim Chenevieve. Federal money is headed toward areas hardest hit by Hurricane Michael. FEMA Administrator Brock Long.
The president proactively declared an expedited major disaster declaration for the state of Florida last night. And that includes individual assistance for 5 counties. And these are just initial counties. We'll add more counties as we are able to do damage assessments.
It's going to be a big job with a big price tag.
I'm Peter King in Bluntstown, Florida, which is north of Panama City Beach. And officials there are telling people who evacuated not to come back. There are roadblocks up leading into the city, curfews in effect, traffic signals are down, there is no fuel, there is very little water, and where water is flowing, they say there are boil water notices.
The death toll has risen again to 13. Turkey has released an American evangelical preacher who was imprisoned 2 years ago on what the U.S. considered trumped-up charges. The dispute recently escalated to the point where President Trump enacted punitive sanctions on Turkey. CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
Turkey was under intense U.S. pressure to release Andrew Brunson, with the Trump administration in August imposing sanctions on Turkey's Justice and Interior ministers. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo pressed the matter with his Turkish counterpart. Pastor Brunson, who'd been living in Turkey for more than 2 decades, had been accused of spying and aiding terror groups.
The Catholic Archbishop of Washington, D.C. has resigned. Cardinal Donald Wuerl becomes the latest fallout from the church's sex abuse scandal. He's accused of transferring abusive priests as part of a cover-up. Fran Samber is with the Survivors Network of those abused by priests.
For me, it's a mixed emotion. I mean, I think he should resign, but I also think he needs to explain his part in this, how involved he was in those transfers.
The Pope said he recognized that Wuerl wanted to step down for the greater good of the church. He also thanked Wuerl for actions that support, stimulate, and make the unity and mission of the church grow above every kind of sterile division sown by the father of lies. Well, the Center for Auto Safety demanding South Korean automakers Hyundai and Kia recall nearly 3 million vehicles due to hundreds of consumer complaints about non-collision fires. Executive Director Jason Levine.
We believe, the price is probably too high to wait because the price could certainly be death or serious injury. And there's already a significant amount of property damage, of course, to everyone who has had their car go up in flames and burn out and be, of course, unusable.
The models include Kia Soul, Sorento, and Optima, and Hyundai Sonata and Santa Fe. On Wall Street right now, the Dow is up 88 points. This is CBS News.
National mortgage lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Licensed in all 50 states, equal housing lender, NMLS number 3030.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
The obesity epidemic, it's happening in the military, too.
Almost 1 in 5 active duty male soldiers was obese in 2015. 1/2 were overweight. The Army Times says a new study shows obese soldiers use almost double the medical resources as their normal weight counterparts, going to a doctor about 13 times a year. While the military has been increasingly focused on how to target service members who are unfit to deploy, this new study shows they're also costing the military a lot of money. The study's author is quoted as asking if the military is employing overweight soldiers to go to the doctor or fight the nation's wars. Cammie McCormick, CBS News, Washington.
Skier Lindsey Vonn has announced she will definitely retire from the sport at the end of the season. Vonn became the oldest woman to win an Olympic alpine skiing medal at the China Games. She's widely regarded as one of the greatest women skiers of all time. The 33-year-old holds the women's record of 82 World Cup wins, trailing only Sweden's Ingemar Stenmark's 86. Jim Chenevey, CBS News.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A home was decimated by a blaze on Rock Bluff Road at the Hidden Harbor subdivision. Hamilton County 911 dispatch confirms the Red Bank Fire Department and mutual aid chief Mike Williams rushed to the scene. 3 people were inside. They managed to make it out. The house was total loss after the roof collapsed. Chattanooga police have eyes in the sky, and you probably didn't even know it. The department says they used their public safety cameras to spot the man they say shot a woman and her 4-year-old son on Faust Street. They use these cameras to film what they call crime hotspots. The young boy from Chattanooga was diagnosed with a rare illness that's seen an increase in diagnoses across the country. It's called AFM, or acute flaccid myelitis. It has symptoms very similar to polio, and the cause still remains unknown. Hundreds swarmed the Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department to protest the possible placement of a sewage plant on Man Gap Road. Russell Stroud, Chattanooga Radio News, talking 92.7 Action News now.
Some high clouds will move in from the west out there through your nighttime. Continued cool and dry, lows near 50. For Saturday, becoming mostly sunny, pleasant, highs into the upper 60s. More clouds Sunday. Can't rule out a late shower, but still not too bad with highs of around 70. It's apple season, and now is a great time to visit Apple Valley Orchards in Cleveland for the freshest apple cider and more. Open daily. Apple Valley Orchards, 423-472-3044. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Four.
92.7. Democrats basically left, the moderate Republicans left in the United States.
Holding them accountable. Sean gets the answers no one else does. Freedom is back in style. Welcome to the revolution.
We burning down the night, shooting bullets at the moon, baby. This is how we roll.
The new Sean Hannity Show. More behind-the-scenes information on breaking news and more bold, inspired solutions for America. T-minus 25 days. 25 days Until you decide the midterm elections to keep America great.
All right, glad you're with us. 25 days to go until very important